So I clicked record, and I think we just caught a really important capture in that the people that are trying to embrace life and not fearing food still have a foot out the door, and we have such a warped perception of what what time frames should be for anything. Like, it's ridiculous how warped our perception of any time period has been for anything. Like, to relate to when I started one of my glute focused workouts, and this is why it's really important to assess your approach. And here with me today is one for our second go through, and it's going deeper into the mindset of maintenance, the mindset of detaching from the old mindsets we had of dieting, restricting, shrinking, because you can physically do what you need to do, but still not be getting the same results because it's a mental thing. And this is something that held me back for, like I mentioned not long ago, it held me back for about a year where I was doing the things that I was told I needed to do, but mentally still negating the process. Like, I was still worried about it, stressed about it. And like I was saying about the time frames, it's like, because I was so fixated on how hard I was working, how much it was burning, and I was struggling through a particular period of time where I was doing my training, because of that level of grit and sacrifice and just pushing myself, I was like, why am I not getting results? And it's been like 2 weeks. And this is why you need to take a smarter approach.
Yeah.
So I'll let you take away with that.
Oh, are we starting? Are we starting? Do we start the?
Yeah, I just started it 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, we need to have a realistic expectations on how long something's going to take, right? Just because you think you're working so hard doesn't mean that you're necessarily working smart. So kind of reframing that, what that's supposed to look like. But yeah, everyone has they're always in a rush to get from point A to point B, and not learning to appreciate the process and what you have to do to get there. And just have a very distorted sense of how long something's going to take, and always comparing their journey to someone else, not understanding that years have passed between from this picture to that picture, right? All they see are just two before and after pictures, not understanding what has actually taken place to get to that point. And not really appreciating the mindset part of getting there. It's not only the physical changes that take place, but it's the mindset changes that take place that are more powerful and more transformative. And I don't think people really get to that point until they've actually really worked on those issues. They don't realize they're just so focused on the physical changes that they don't realize that, there's a lot of mindset changes that have to take place in order to get that physical destination that they're wanting to go to.
With that, it's usually they don't give the patience enough, they don't give enough to patience and persistence. And I also feel like it's hard to get to that mindset when you're not even slowing down to recognize what it is that's holding you back. Because in this rush, doing mentality where there is so much information thrown at you, and something, because I'm very big on Facebook, and something I see in so many groups, people asking for the same advice from different fitness groups, getting different stupid answers. And it's no wonder. And people don't give things enough time. But in that, time means nothing if you're not working on the things you need to work on. So what do you see to be the things that people miss out on and should be focusing on in the time period to get their mindset to that building / maintenance mode?
Well, disassociating their self-worth from their size, actually not focusing on aesthetic goals, actually setting that on the side, right? But we're not chasing aesthetics now. We're focusing on non-aesthetic things. Let's pick those things out. There's so many things that you can work on that have nothing to do with what you look like. you know, chasing performance in the gym, strength and performance in the gym, working on improving, you know, sleep, digestion, your biofeedback, you know, working on your hormones, getting your menstrual cycle back, just picking up your hobbies, things that you used to do, you know, improving your relationship with food, you know, being more social again, and, you know, stepping away from tracking macros or whatever that you might be tracking at that time, like finding other ways to define progress. Super important for you to be successful in a maintenance, or like I would say anything that when you're not in a cut, right? So understanding that progress is not tied to only with what you look like, but there are so many other aspects to measure progress.
So
that's why I put my dog in the other room, because I knew she would do that.
Yeah, they're downstairs. I'm gonna shut the door as well. But I think a big fear that people have is, what if I gain too much fat? What if I lose all my progress I've worked so hard for? So how can we manage those thoughts?
Yes.
And because something that I see, something that I've went through, is the reason you're so worried about this stuff is because you're so focused on the worries and focused on not feeling a certain way versus shifting your focus.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think what's good to do is like kind of give them confidence. Tell them you were able to you were successful in fat loss before. Like, you know how to do that. You're an expert at that, right? So it's not like, so you know how to get there. It's not like you've never been there before. So give them the confidence that they can achieve it again. So now let's work on something that will help them be successful, more successful with that goal. And spending time away from fat loss is the essential part of being able to be successful in fat loss, and understanding that they are two tied together. Like, being in maintenance is part of your fat loss goal. Like, it shouldn't be considered a separate thing. And I think a lot of people don't take their maintenance phases or post-cut phases as seriously. And that's how they get caught up in this yo-yo cycle of constantly going, you know, being a cut, and then maybe being too sloppy in maintenance, you know, and then they end up getting into surplus, and then they want to go into a cut. So like there's this, they create this vicious cycle. So helping them understand that there's value and purpose in a maintenance phase, and to take it just as serious as their cut phase, so that they're less likely to continue in this yo-yo cycle.
The biggest success tool is literally where you shift your focus to. And you're going through a building phase right now. And as am I. And I'm sure a lot of your clients go through the same process as do mine, even just getting themselves to maintenance and not dieting for a while.
Yeah.
What do you see to be the most successful traits of those that master maintenance and start to enjoy the process? Because it always seems to be fat loss as the only goal. When you're in maintenance, fat loss is still the goal. When you're building, your foot is still in fat loss.
Yeah, well, helping them understand that the value in maintenance, right? And placing, helping them understand that it is more than the scale. So all their life or forever, like the only way that they tie progress is with the scale. So the ones who master maintenance have let go of the scale. Like, they don't use the scale as a measure of progress. And they have, they're willing to play the long game. They understand this is a part of being successful with their future fitness goals. And, you know, just being patient, understand, not being in a rush. Like, the ones who give it as long as it needs to take, they are the most successful, because they're not trying to rush through this maintenance phase thinking like, okay, I'm just get through the maintenance phase just so that I can go into cut. So when they're patient and they don't rush it, and then they just allow things to take place for as long as it needs to take, I mean, they thrive in maintenance. And the longer that they allow them to stay in maintenance, the ones who thrive the most, because they finally get what it feels like. So the ones who try to rush through it, they never really understand how good it feels. So they don't see the value in it. They're like, they feel so uncomfortable, and they don't let themselves to ride through this discomfort and understand that, you know, scale fluctuations are normal. You know, the ups and downs are totally normal. you know, taking that, just breaking away from the scale is huge. So I think those are two big things, that not associating progress with the scale, and then just not trying to rush through it.
How would you work through detaching from the identity of chasing smaller, because you've just spent so much of your life trying to lose weight, trying to shrink yourself, focusing on eating less, focusing on, oh my God, I'm going to get this thigh gap, or oh my God, I'm going to, whatever it is. How do you detach from that so that you can start to move forward? Because it's almost like you're keeping an anchor down at the rocks and your ship isn't moving or sailing anywhere.
Well, I think it's important to have if you focus on other goals. This is why I think having performance goals in the gym is super important, because it helps you focus on other things, and take, you know, and you understand that, you know, when you eat more, you're stronger, you can push yourself in the gym, it's more motivating. So like having other goals have nothing to do with that is super important. So the, you know, performance goals, trying to set PRs, that's really important. And understanding that, you know, it's going to take time. It's not like it's going to happen overnight, especially if you've dealt with this for decades, for like myself. You know, I had dealt with it for a long time. So it took a lot of mindset work and being intentional with recognizing when that thought comes in, but not dwelling on it, right? So you know that it's there, but you're not going to dwell on it. You just snap out of it, and you just surround yourself. This is the other thing. Unfollow people on social media that do not align with your goals. Like that was a huge thing for myself when I tried to shift away from, you know, the competition world. I unfollowed a lot of bikini competitors and anyone like living the shredded lifestyle. So I think your environment is super important, because if you don't have that constant visual bombardment, I should say, of, you know, all these lean people, it's gonna be a lot easier. So start following people who are like promoting the stronger, abundant lifestyle. So environment is huge. Setting performance goals in the gym is huge, and just understand that, you know, it's an ongoing journey. You know, you're gonna have those issues, and just have to recognize when the thoughts come in, and just don't dwell on them.
Yeah, I also want to add the way that I work through it as well, and like something that, like, I'm not even focusing about my body per se. I know I'm doing the things, I'm living active, I'm like the gym. When it gets tough and I don't want to show up, that's usually because my focus is on, hey, I'm beating myself. My goal right now is to build the body to enhance what is to come. And like, I feel the biggest thing that holds people back is that they're still so body focused. It's almost like when they're training, they're still like pulling themselves up, being like, I can't brace now because my belly's gonna bloat out. Like, I had a girl who ages ago, one of my girls used to always say that she was pulling her back out, she was hurting her back, blah blah blah, and then she'll send me videos and you can tell that she wasn't bracing because she was too busy trying to suck in her stomach and like stick her bum out and like make herself look good. And I'm like, you're not bracing, are you? Because you're worried about what your belly looks like. She's like, damn it, Ruby, you know me too well. I'm like, you need to stop worrying about that stuff, because that's going to lead to injury, and it actually stops you getting that body you want, because you're focusing on the body you don't want. And that leads to the other thing. You're so focused on policing the old shit. And one of my girls is going to listen to this and say, yep, this is me. But you're too busy on policing the old shit and the shit that is now, versus focusing on evolving and building the future you that you want. And something that we both harp on about is building muscle and focusing on growth is not going to turn you into some She-Hulk. And I think that's a very big fear with a lot of people shifting their focus. Oh, but if I shift my focus, I'm just going to get bulky.
Well, I mean, I think this idea of bulkiness comes from the fact that if you add some fat to your body, that's what kind of contributes to that bulky look. But the actual lifting weights part, it's so hard. It's so hard to build muscle. You trust me, like people have been trying to get bulky for years and they don't, right? So it's not that. It's just, you know, when people mistake any additional fat that they might have on them during their bulking process building muscle process, they feel like it's bulk. But once they shed the fat, it's not there, right? It's just, that's what contributes to that bulky feeling, but it's not. So understanding what it takes to build muscle, what it takes to have that quote unquote toned look requires you to lift weights, right? It requires you to be eating enough and, trusting the process. And I know it's hard, especially if you've never been there. That's why I think having a coach is so valuable. And I know it's easy for us to say because we've had one, but I've had coach, and that was so valuable in helping me overcome a lot of the issues that I had, like the fear of eating carbs, trying to get off the cardio train, spending more time, being in the gym, not punishing myself with cardio anymore. I mean, that was like so instrumental in me getting over that. So, I know it's it can be expensive, but I think it's a worthy investment. Definitely pays back.
I actually believe that having a coach is the best thing that you can do for yourself. And it actually can, for many people, it can grant you more money and more time and more opportunity because
absolutely,
like, honestly, you can have more opportunities to make a lot more money, a lot more time, and add more value to your life. And you'll like, just by getting into the lifestyle and shifting everything to be your very best for those that you love, not just for yourself, because if you tie it to those that you love, you're going to bring more value to it. But you start to need less and want less because you start to shift what actually life is. And you start to realize and we'll talk on alcohol at the end, but you start to even save more money with the way that you eat, with the way that you go about your life, have hobbies, have this, have that. And beyond that, you're saving the emotional turmoil, the mental turmoil, the stress that I see from girls. Like I had a girl sign up not long ago who agreed with this. She's always asking questions in the group, getting a million different pieces of advice, not really knowing what to do. So the whole time she's so worried that she's just going to ruin the process even more. It's like having a coach that allows you to get rid of all of that excess baggage, allows you to put all that focus into stuff that actually grows you. And my coach, for example, I want to read out one of your posts in a second, but my coach, for example, is pushing me into discomfort. Like I'm having 600 grams of carbs on the weekends, for example. Like he asked me before that, have you ever eaten, like, do you know how your body responds to this? I'm like, bro, I've never eaten more than 450 in my life. He's like, okay, cool. We'll give you those 2 days. See how you go. I'm like, okay. And then after about 4 weeks on 350 grams on my weekdays, he's like, cool, we'll up it up to 400. It's like that shit that I would have never done to myself. That it's doing to me, push me into a bigger surplus. And I'm, hey, guys, I'm gaining like 0.5 to 1 kilo on average every 2 weeks. And that's the goal. Like you're not going to build muscle and get the body you want without showing some scale weight. And if you do it smart, you're not going to look like some huffle-puffle.
Right. Exactly. I like that word. You touch on so many important points there. Like, I think people get so lost when they don't have a coach and they ask, a bazillion different people their opinions. They're going to get different answers, which makes them more confused, which makes them more lost. And then they're even more directionless. So having a coach really helps you stay focused, stay on course. And this way you don't have to worry about all the outside noise. You're not distracted by all these different, thoughts and opinions. You just know that you got one, you just got to follow the plan, just execute. But yeah, a coach is going to, take you out of your comfort zone and have you do things that you probably wouldn't do yourself. And that's good. That's the value of having a coach. And then understanding that they know what they're doing, right? So you're just going to trust them. And give it enough time for it to work, right? So, this is so important to implement what the coach has you do for the plan to work. But and if you're doing a surplus properly, you shouldn't blow up into this massive huffle-puffle, like you said, right? I mean, you are going to gain some fat, that is understood, but you're not you're not going to be going crazy. It's not this crazy free for all, right? It means this is why you still track your weight so that you can control that. So you're not gaining all this extra unintentional fat that you just have to shed down the road.
Yeah, and that's also why it's so valuable to put a lot of data into your check-ins as well. And something that I encourage all my girls to do, I'm not anti-scale, but I'm pro get rid of the scale for at least 6 months to a year, at least a year, for because so many people are focused only on the scale. They don't even know how to read their bodies. And I know, for example, that I didn't know how to just listen to my own body or read my own body or feel myself in the gym anymore, because everything was still focused on that weigh-in. And because of the shit that other trainers, in quotation marks, put clients through, the scale has now this negative mark on it. And if you don't let yourself let go of that number determining things for a while to allow you to actually know how to shift your focus, you're never going to actually shift your focus, because that number, whether you admit it or not, is still in your head. And I have a girl who knows all the shit about the scale, who knows everything that's involved in the scale, and she wasn't using it, but she decided to step on it, and it didn't say what she wanted. And she even told me her reasoning behind it. I know it's not going to affect me, blah, blah, blah. And then 10 minutes later, she's like, I feel so shit because I was feeling so good. I was feeling strong and I was feeling lean again. But that number, I'm like, I think it's time to divorce from the scale for a good year. And she's like, oh, no, it's fine. I'm good with it. But then again, I was really emotional with it. Like, if you're actually that triggered by letting it go, that's more of a sign you need to let it go for now, because it is a valuable tool for certain people at certain parts of life, especially if you're going to the extremes. But for most people, there are other ways to get your progress markers so that you can learn for once to shift that focus. And this post, where it's like the body you want requires you to get uncomfortable. And something else that you wrote with this one is, the body you want is on the other side of letting go of a goal weight. The body you want is asking for more time and patience. The body you want needs you to give it more grace. And with grace, I think a lot of people fear that means letting themselves go, but it's actually not. Giving it grace means whipping yourself up the ass when you're being too lenient on yourself. And it also means whipping yourself in the ass when you're being too hard on yourself. So I'll let you talk about that post, because I didn't read them all.
Yeah, basically, I talk about all the things that's going to be required for you to get the body that you want, right? Letting go of a goal weight, giving it more time and patience, right? We're so rushed to get to this quote unquote goal body, not understanding that it can take years, not just 12 weeks. We're giving it more grace, like you said. Understand it doesn't need to shrink to be more worthy. You do not have to be smaller to be considered more worthy. And I know this is a hard one for a lot of women, because for a lot of women, we're told, the smaller you are, the more attractive, more successful you are. But understand that there's no correlation, right? And the body you want, here's the words you speak to it. I mean, gosh, some people say some of the most hateful things to themselves, things that they would never say to their friends and loved ones. Your body actually hears what you say to it. So I think that's an extremely powerful reminder to, not nitpick it and not, say all these hateful things. The body that you want is built when you're not dieting. This is such an important concept for people to understand. Like, they don't understand it. You don't build muscle when you're in a calorie deficit. If you don't, there's only a small group of people that can. But aside from that, I mean, most women are constantly dieting, thinking that that's what's going to give them the body, but not understanding that spending time not dieting and building muscle and eating enough, that's what's going to build the body that they want. And understanding that is so important. And also, it's probably going to weigh more than you think or want. People have this idea that, I look like this when I was 130 pounds. That was like 20 years ago. Well, hello, you've been lifting since then. You've had a baby, you've had babies, you're a woman now. So your idea of what it's going to look like back then, when you reach that number, is going to be very different than what it is now. So you know, it's not just a matter of just dieting your life away and shrinking, being smaller. You know, it's the mindset portion of it that you have to grasp.
Yeah, constantly dieting is what gave me, like, it's what made me look worse and feel worse. And I lost out on life and memories, and I literally dieted life away. And I know you went through the exact same thing.
Yeah, definitely.
When
you lose out a lot.
I was gonna say, when you realized that constantly dieting was only making you look worse and feel worse, how can we get others to see that? Because I feel like everyone needs to learn going through the shit themselves, and it's like, this is why we're here. Like, what resistance?
It's true, but you know, we want to shake them, right? We want to hold them grab them by the shoulders and like give them a shake and tell them hello, like we've been here. Like, we're trying to give you a pass so that you avoid the pain that we've gone through. But yeah, a lot of times you have to experience it yourself, hit rock bottom, where you truly understand. Then the light bulb goes on. But I'm hoping that a lot of people are finally getting the message, and they're seeing like here's the thing, what they've been doing hasn't been working. So all these years of what you've been doing hasn't given you the body that you want. So it's time to do things differently, right? And for a lot of women, it means to stop dieting. Stop dieting.
Yeah, and like you said, we're so rushed to get to this goal body, but what's the rush? What's going to happen when you get there? And I think people don't even think of these questions. What is going to happen when you get to this goal body? What is this goal body? Do you know how to get there? What do you think is going to magically happen when you get there? Like, what exactly? Slow down and ask yourself that. Journal it.
Exactly.
Like, is it more confidence? Is it more happiness? Is it proud? But then what's going to happen after there? Because you don't even know the process you took to get there, because you weren't focusing on the process, just this end goal. But then you're not happy anymore because you didn't make yourself happy in the process, and you probably will be where you thought you wanted to be, but still not feel there because you're empty inside.
Yeah, if you're not happy now, I tell people, you might have a fleeting moment of satisfaction because you've reached that goal, but it's not deep. It's not a deep sense of joy and a deep sense of true happiness, right? If you weren't happy then, you're not going to be happy just because you look a certain way. Your problems will not go away. All the problems that you have will not go away. And you got to ask yourself, once you get there, can you even sustain it? So whatever method that you use to get there, can you even sustain this look that you got? And for a lot of people, it is not sustainable because they've gone through extreme measures, or they get to a point and they're just feeling like crap at that point, right? Their sleep is disrupted. They're having digestive issues. Maybe they've lost their menstrual cycle, all the poor relationship with food, all these things. So understanding that, whatever you do to get to that point, it needs to be sustainable for it to be long lasting. And for a lot of women, it's not, because it's not, the leanest version is not necessarily their healthiest.
Yeah, and I feel like being consistent in your actions, proving to yourself you can, showing up for yourself, actually getting good sleep and feeling well rested versus burnt out all the time, that's the stuff that makes you feel the way you want to feel. And that's where people don't even realize that grinding yourself to get to that place is only going to lead to you getting more fat and losing more muscle, because now what, you grinded yourself there to get to this happy place where you can have that, but you can't just park your car there. Like, you're going to get a friggin' fine and end up in jail if you overstay your welcome. Like, it is pretty much prison keeping yourself there, because now you have to maintain it. And if you don't maintain that, you're going to be miserable. You're going to go back to where you were. Then what?
And I know. It's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle.
And I know that you can relate to this as well. So I want you to pretty much bring your story into this. And that's like because Juan and I, once in a billion lifetimes ago, by the feels of this whole lockdown pandemic, the way the world is, it's like a lifetime ago, but we both competed. And I did 8 shows in a row. But the thing is, I thought that that was going to get me to where I wanted to be. And it did. I freaking loved being on stage, and I loved the second time. And then the third time was, yeah. But by the time I went through the rest, I realized that I was just clinging to this goal because I thought that that's what was going to make me happy, without realizing that I honestly wasn't. I thought that I was doing it because I loved it, but it was more out of a fear of losing what I had attained, like that lean body. I feared that if I wasn't going to be competing, I was just going to turn into a fat Hufflepuff again. And then as soon as I let go of competing, I wanted to justify myself. So I went into powerlifting. Oh, it doesn't really matter what you look like in powerlifting. Oh, no, but there's a weight class to make. And then there was me always striving for that. It wasn't about the weight itself. It was that I needed to be in the weight class. But then it was, I needed to cling to this and cling to that. And I loved it. I loved it. But after two big competitions, it was just for the sake of competing. And I lost my joy in training. I felt like a slave to it. And I know that you did the same thing. And now we're at a place, and we've been in this place for a while now, where we're even just so like awesomely going through our building phases without that attachment anymore. Like it,
Yeah,
we're embracing it, and we're actually looking forward to seeing what can happen on the other end.
it is exciting. Yeah. I mean, it's not easy. It's not like you come to this place in your mind overnight, right? You have to go through these stages of like questioning what you're doing and asking yourself if it's worth it, and then truly understanding that your mental and physical health is way more important than being this leanest version of you. I didn't even enjoy getting on stage. That's the funny part with like competing. You said you like getting on the stage. I hated getting on stage. Like that was I just wanted to go through the process. I love the process, and the daily grind. And then when show day came, that was like I didn't like getting in a bikini and being judged by people. But it's the challenge, the process. That's what I loved. That's what I really enjoyed. But my body didn't like it, right? I mean, if your body goes through hell when it gets to that level of leanness. And yeah, it's tough, trying to work through those issues. That after you do a competition, you'll never look at your body the same way. I mean, anything beyond contest lean seems fat, so you have to go through that stage of working through those issues. But yeah, I mean, it takes time. It takes a lot of time to get to a place where you appreciate your body for more than what it looks like. But now it's like, I don't know. I mean, I may do a cut. I mean, eventually, doing a bulk, but the thought of it is not appealing to me. Like the thought of dieting is so not appealing. I'm actually not looking forward to that part because we're so used to, we know what it's like to eat and be well fed and have energy and sleep well. And we know what it feels like when we don't do that, not that we're going to go through that extreme of dieting, right? Because that's extreme, right? Contest prep is extreme, but still the process is pretty similar. I don't know what that's like. I haven't been on, since 2019. So it's been a while. So yeah, I just really would love for women to understand what it's like to get to this place, but just riding through that discomfort, I get it. It's very uncomfortable initially, but you have to like kind of push yourself and just let yourself live there for you to understand how it actually should feel like.
It's funny. I had a girl say to me yesterday as well, I'm still hungry at 2,500 calories. I don't want to ever eat less. And I'm like, well, you and me both. Like, I don't even want to diet again. Like, I even said to my coach yesterday, so funny that I don't want to have my carbs cut. I love where I am. Like, this is delicious. I love bread. It's like, I freaking love bread and cereal so much. And it's just like, I don't want to. And then he's just like, good, because we're here. And I'm like, I know. I love it. And that's a feeling that no one can understand until you let go of that leaner image. And you said this as well, but I know a lot of your clients haven't put themselves through a comp prep, but same with mine. And they feel like they never even got lean enough. They aren't lean enough to stop dieting. And it's like, even though you didn't get to comp prep lean, you still will never look at your body or the process the same way, because now your mindset has only been shrinking.
Yeah. Well, that's why you got to teach them that you don't live in a dieting state, right? You tell them this is temporary, and let them know that you got to end the cut, and you got to spend the rest of whatever amount of time in maintenance before you go back into a cut, and just helping them reframe what this whole process is supposed to look like, because for all their entire lives, they've had a warped sense of what dieting should look like. They think that you just kind of do that all year round, and that's what you're always constantly in some state of restriction. But helping them understand that this is, being in maintenance is a huge, massive part of your fat loss goal. Your fat loss goal is just minuscule compared to the grand scheme of things. So it's tough.
There are two big questions I want to ask. The first one is, so you don't spend your whole time dieting, and something that we both see people struggle with, I know you do as well, is that people approach a journey with a restrictive mindset, in that they're not willing to do all the things they need to do because they're scared that they're going to give up on so much, because they feel like everything they need to do now is what they need to do forever, and not realize, no, it's not. You do need to make more sacrifices in a fat loss phase, but they're not forever. And besides, by the time you get this over and done with and you learn the habits and the behaviors and the lifestyle, you don't even want to go back to your old lifestyle, because you finally know how good it feels. But yes, you will have more flexibility. So what can you say to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Every stage, it's hard. No matter what stage you're in, there's different levels of difficulty, right? So when you're dieting, you have to learn to, maybe be hungry, maybe say no to certain things, but understanding that every phase is temporary. Every phase of that you consider this uncomfortable is short term. Because once you get to another phase, you have to address whatever challenges are in that phase. So understanding that each phase is distinct and there's different levels of discomfort, but it's going to require some level of sacrifice, some level of change, some level of doing things differently in order for you to continue to progress. If you're seeking comfort, you're never going to change, right? So if you do want to change on some level, whether it's whatever it is, if it's fat loss or build muscle, whatever, you're going to be uncomfortable, just different levels of discomfort.
You can't change without discomfort. That is so powerful. And it's not easy, and there will be resistance, and it's not something to fear. You're not doing something wrong. And I think in that, a lot of people are worried about what others will think, or they feel like they're failing, not being good enough, whatever it is. Like, it's not perfect because it's uncomfortable. Anything that's comfortable feels more at home to you. And the last part that I think is something that, if everyone accepted, they will start to be able to embrace maintenance that much more. And that's, why can we eat so much more compared to people who say that as soon as they eat more than 1,400 calories, they gain weight?
Well, the first big one is like they don't chase fat loss. Like, how long has it been since? Like, I haven't been, and I don't even consider a cut because that was more for the stage. But 2019, it's a long time since I dieted. I did a mini cut like last year because I was doing a bulk. So like I had to do it for health reasons. My labs came back not looking so good. But so the ones who can eat a lot, they're not constantly dieting. That's a huge one. Okay, they're not always chasing fat loss. Another one, they lift weights. They prioritize that over cardio. And I'm not saying that cardio is bad. People think that I'm anti-cardio. Cardio is great for cardiovascular health, but it's not going to change your body the way that lifting weights will. And lifting weights will help you build muscle, and that's what enable you to eat more. When you have more muscle, you need more calories. Another huge one is not letting the scale define you. The ones who can eat as much as they do, they're not gonna let the scale bother them. So what if it's up a couple pounds? They're not gonna freak out. They're not gonna start restricting their calories. yeah, and then going back to having a lot of muscle, having a lot of muscle and not being afraid to lift heavy. That is a huge part of being able to eat a lot of calories. Is being able to is having more muscle on your frame, and just this mindset of not turning to dieting anytime they feel uncomfortable, or anytime they feel like something's not happening, or anytime they're not happy. Like, they understand that, food is fuel, and it is essential to building muscle. So just reframing the way you look at exercise, reframing the way you look at food, and understanding that is, you have to eat in order to build the body that you want.
Right, it's the reframe that's the most important part. And as soon as you start to reframe even what you focus on, you're not going to be needing to always be policing your thoughts. And yeah, there will be some times where you get that uncomfortable feeling. Like, I shared this on my stories ages ago, and I will still share it. And that's every single time that I do my 600-gram carb days, my weight goes up over a kilo. Did I just gain fat overnight? No.
Right.
Would I let that spark me into, oh my God, I'm going to restrict today? No, I'm going to go back to my 400 grams of carbs during the week and not restrict, because that's what the body does. And that's what carbs do. And it's not fat. And if you let these moments, like, it's not even that, like, menstrual cycles, you're going to feel more body conscious when it's PMS week, when it's period week. You're going to feel more bloated. Like, there are a couple of days where I felt more bloated than usual. Did I let that impact my eating? I wasn't hungry whatsoever, but I still ate the usual way that I do, because I knew that if I didn't show up to what I was supposed to do, I'm not going to get the results. And you can't complain about the results from the work that you weren't honest about. It's not even work you didn't do, because you can say you did it, but were you honest about doing it?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. People can relate to, quote unquote, cheating on their diet, right? They cheat it, they go over their macros, they eat things that they're not supposed to eat. And so, fat loss isn't going to happen. So you have to approach a building phase kind of like the same way. If you don't eat the food that you're supposed to be eating in this build, you're just cheating yourself. It's like, why are you doing this? You got to take this opportunity, and do all the things that you need to do to get to this goal of yours. Because you don't want I think it's one of the biggest regrets, to look back 6 months, a year from now, and think and know that you didn't do the things that you should have done, right? Because you were uncomfortable in that moment.
That was the most powerful thing you said, and it gave me goosebumps, because it's so true. And that was what sparked my change. Well, that was honestly what sparked my change, because I was sick of looking at the same photos, realizing that I felt the same way, still was complaining about my body, complaining about the fact that I can't shift my belly fat, complaining about the fact that I'm struggling to lose fat on 1,400 calories, busting my ass 6 days a week. I had the worst digestive issues. I felt like shit. And I was looking back, because you know how that you get the year, because I post my journey all the time. And I got the 1 year ago today, and I was realizing in 2019, I think it was, or 2018, I stopped the same time as you. That's when I started building, which is funny. So in 2019, I realized I'm not really changing my body. I'm working so freaking hard. Yeah, there's a little change, but for the work that I'm putting in, that's all there is to show for it. I still look like a huffle puffle, bloated, inflamed mess. Well, no shit. Like, my health was down the toilet because I was overtraining. I was under eating.
Yeah.
My gut was a mess. And I know that you would have been in the same place with comp prep, because that's what comp prep does. That's what any extreme dieting does. It's not just comp prep. It's
right.
It's the mindset of it all. Like, do you really want to look back in a year from now? This is for anything in life. And realize that nothing has changed and you remained the same because you kept telling yourself the same bullshit stories.
Yeah, and I want to point out, I mean, if your goal is to stay the same, which that's kind of like what maintenance is, sort of like, not that you're not making progress, but if there's nothing wrong with staying the same if that's what you want. that's what you want, right? But a lot of people are wanting to see changes, wanting to progress. And so that's when it's not a good thing to look back and see that you thought you worked hard, but you still didn't, you're still not seeing the results that you're thinking you're working so hard for. And working so hard means doing the very things that you're avoiding. That's what working hard is, not training 6 or 7 days a week. And you know what I mean? All the things that we think that is working hard.
You just brought up a really important point. If staying the same is what you want, ask yourself if what you're doing right now is something you can maintain for life, number one. And number two, are you truly happy where you are, or are you just telling yourself that? And you're just, because a lot of the time we're so immune to where we are right now, we don't realize that we're not actually thriving. We're just dealing with it, but we don't recognize that. And the third part, which I want you to talk about, because we spoke about it on our last podcast, is you can stay the same, but that doesn't mean you don't put any effort into it, because if you start to slack on effort, that's when you will realize that you're shrinking backwards into a place you don't want to be.
Yeah, everything requires effort. Whatever change that you're wanting to make, it requires effort. Yes, at a certain point, like in maintenance, like it does, you do have more food freedom and more flexibility, right? It's not so rigid as if when you were in a cut, but it still requires effort. And when you don't do that, when you let go of the habits and lifestyle that you were maintaining, that's when you're going to slip back into your, whatever, gaining back the 10, 15 pounds that you lost, right? So understanding that every phase that you're in does require effort, some more times than other, but you can't just sit back and relax and expect things to just stay the same. The people who are living the lifestyle right now, even if they don't have necessarily a fat loss goal or a muscle building goal, they just want to live a healthy lifestyle, they still put forth effort. They're still intentional about their habits and their lifestyle, whether it's, going to bed at a reasonable hour, prioritizing sleep, and, eating whole foods and going for their walks and making time for their workouts. Like, these are all things that are part of their lifestyle that still takes effort. So people think like, oh, it's so easy for you, but it's not. Like, these people have, made it such a habit, and they're so disciplined that it seems easy, but it still requires effort.
Yeah. It's almost like when you see me, for example, squatting like 80 kilos, just putting a number out there. It's probably more like 60 kilos. And deadlifting 100. There we go. You see me squatting like 60 kilos and deadlifting 100 kilos. And it's like, she makes it look so easy. And it's like, do you know the work that went behind getting to that place? And it's the same with your body. It's the same with the food habits. People are like, oh, I wish I like eating like that came so easy to me. Do you think it was that easy for me way back when?
Right.
Like, I struggled with that shit too. Everyone has struggled at some point, and I can't remember the way Jordan Sire frames it, but I think it's like the learning bias, or the learning something where you've got to a point where you're now so advanced and you're so through the process that you forget what it's like to be a beginner. And this is where people struggle with the information that's put out there. Not all information is for you. When people say certain things for exercise or certain things for food, it's like the whole intuitive stupid eating thing. It's like, you can't get to that place if you don't know anything about food itself. Like, a banana isn't freaking protein. And it's that part as well. And the last thing that you mentioned, which was really important, is if you don't put in the effort. But a lot of people wait until shit's just a flat line and calm until they get a coach or until they start a program. And then as soon as it's Christmas, because Christmas is coming up, for example, oh, let's just put this on hold. Let's just put my fat loss on hold. Let's put this on hold. This is probably the most important time to have a coach, to learn how to navigate this shit, to learn how to navigate the thereafter. Same with holidays, same with vacations, because then what's going to happen if you are in that situation in the future? How are you going to navigate that? I have a girl that goes on holidays frequently, and she always stays with me. And the first 3 times she went, I was helping her every single day. And now she goes, she posts, she checks in with me, she tells me what she's doing. Oh, I just changed up this part in the workout, this part in the workout. I'm eating close to the template that I usually have for food, and I'm enjoying myself, blah, blah, blah. She comes back. She had fun. She's a little bit more overweight, and she didn't even need to police her thoughts anymore. she was right back into focusing on, now I'm going to go give my best in the gym, give my best to get back to the diet that I was following before, and embrace that. And you could still tell that she was kind of negotiating with herself and feeling fluffy, but she didn't focus on it. She mentioned it a little and then she shifted straight away.
That's part of the process, the learning process, right? Initially, everything does seem like so much effort and it's so hard. But the more you do it, the more it becomes, a little bit more natural. It doesn't mean that you don't have those moments, but you're able to navigate them much more smoothly and with less difficulty, and you get back on it right away, whereas you don't let it dwell. You don't let that vacation go into, when you come back home, you let it roll over into the next week. You just hop right back to it. So it's just like, anything is, in the beginning, it seems hard, but as you get better with it, it does require less effort, but still does require effort, but it just doesn't seem as hard. And this is why people who are beginners, they get so overwhelmed because they think of, I got to do this. I got to think about, drinking water and getting my sleep and, getting my food in and my walks and working out and like, oh my gosh, so many things. Well, all the people who are mastering right now, they didn't do it all at once. There's all these little things, these habits that you stacked on. So now it becomes almost like a nature. It becomes your lifestyle. But initially, all these things that we're so good at, that people think that we're so good at, it's not like we started off as experts. We stumbled too. Like, gosh, the first time I was in the kitchen trying to meal prep my food, I was in there for like 3 hours. It was horrible. I hated cooking. I still hate to cook. But the more you practice, the more efficient you become. And then you just get better at it. So it just takes practice, and it takes time, and then giving yourself grace along the way. Do not expect to be perfect at it, but you need to continue to be consistent. That is what is important. The momentum, keeping the momentum going.
Slowing down to actually plan ahead is what sets you up for the success.
Yes, huge.
I love that. That is really, really powerful. What is, I guess, to sum up everything that we've pretty much said, what is one thing that you can tell people? So, well, let's say 3 things, because there's so many. 3 things that you can tell people to get to a place where they feel free within structure, because without structure, you feel out of control. And the confidence comes from having structure, because with structure, you have certainty, and with certainty, you have flexibility. So what are some tips that you can give regarding feeling that within your health and fitness and fat loss and building your dream body?
Okay, let me see if I understand your question correctly. I think people think like having a schedule is feels kind of stifling, or trying to like have a like a routine. But actually, that does free your mind up to think about other things that you can do. So having a schedule, planning ahead, whether it's with your meals, like setting a day where you're planning out your meals, is huge, right? This will set you up for success the rest of the week. Instead of fumbling around and winging it, that is actually more stressful, and that actually takes up more time. So spending one day, I think, planning your meals, maybe even if you track your macros, pre-logging your food, whatever you need to do, but that is absolutely essential. And then, carving out time for your workouts. Look at them as actual appointments, like appointments that you are not going to break, right? Because this way, that you know that you have to be there. And tell yourself that if you break this appointment, it's like a cancellation fee that you got to pay. I don't know if you have that where you live, but they pay. And here, if you cancel an appointment, you have to pay $25. So think of those appointment times as, legitimately your time. You got to show up for yourself. And then it's just prioritizing, whatever other activities that you need to do, whether it's your walking or, having a bedtime routine, like actually carve out time to do those things. And, then these have become your non-negotiables. When you have these non-negotiables in place, and more structure in your week, there's no way that you can't succeed.
I love all of that. That I hope you guys can take something away from this podcast to bring more structure to your life, because then you won't, like, the more structure you have, the more confident you're going to be in your journey forward. You're not going to worry about gaining all the weight back, because now you've developed a structure that allows you to know you're on the right path. So yeah, with that, I'm going to leave one's Instagram handle below. It's 1D Wellness if you want to go search her up. She also posts a lot on the maintenance phase and what it really takes, which is pretty much what we covered in today's podcast. Is there any last message that you want to leave the listeners with?
Let's just, stay focused and keep your eyes on the prize and not be so concerned with what everyone else is doing. Just focus on your goals, what you need to do, and not worry about a timeline, right? Just drop the timeline. There's no sense of urgency. You're going to get there when you're going to get there. And learning to enjoy and appreciate the process is so important, and not being so fixated on the end goal.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on. It was amazing.
Thanks for having me. It's always good talking to you.
If anyone gets any benefit from this podcast, which I know you all do, please message me, message one. I love seeing the messages and what actually resonated with you, because that's what helps me know what you guys want to hear more of. And it actually gives you more train of thought by writing it down, by typing it out on how it did resonate with you, because if you just keep it in your head, you'll forget it. And I feel like that has a lot to do with helping you build your mindset, in that you're not just trying to get to the next thing, but you're taking time to really listen and not just hear what you hear.
Exactly.